May 24, 2022, one of the deadliest shootings happened at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed. 3 years later, the mother of Xavier James López comes and talks about how difficult it was for her to receive the news that her son had passed. This is the story of Xavier James López that was in room 111, where only the teacher survived. Welcome to another episode of More Than Just a Story podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Felicia Martinez. Trigger warning, this episode can have some details that might be hurtful or damaging to other people, so please view it with discretion. Thank you for accepting my invite. Thank you for traveling all the way down here to speak about Xavier today.
Of course. Thank you for thinking about him.
So let's start with, how was Xavier's childhood?
Very active. He was our wild child. Very wild. Since he started moving in my belly. Always moving. He was the one that hurt me the most because he was just constantly moving. I would go to sleep, but he was very active. Very active.
What were some things that he liked to do?
Dancing was his main. When people tell me about Xavier, dancing. That was all of Xavier, just dancing. Dancing and making you laugh. He was very good at that, but dancing was his passion. He loved dancing.
Yes. Did he like school?
He liked school. He did have ADHD, so he struggled a lot in school. Since he started school, it was just Xavier did this today and Xavier did that. It was kind of hard to control them. So when I got him tested, it was like, okay, that's why. That's why he's so active. And he loved going to school because he loved being with other people. But when he got to 4th grade is where he told me, Mom, it's hard for me to pay attention and it's hard for me to learn. So we got him tested, and that's when they said he was ADHD, and we put him on medicine because I asked him. He's like, yes, I want to try it. I said, okay, let's try it. And he tried it for maybe a month, and after that, he's like, Mom, I don't like it. I was like, okay, then, stop it. No more. So he got off of it, and that's when he met Annabelle. Sweet Annabelle, his girlfriend. They actually didn't know that they lived in the same area when they were little.
Okay.
We lived in a trailer park, and they lived I want to say maybe 4 trailers down, and they actually played together, and they don't remember that because they were little.
Yeah.
But Annabelle, he had asked Annabelle to the spring dance. And that's when he asked her out, and she said yes, and I did not know about that. I did not know anything about that. I know he told me, he asked me, how do I ask somebody to a dance? And I told him, I was like, maybe just, hey, are you going to go to the dance? Yes. Would you like to go with me? And he was like, that easy? And I'm like, yes. He was like, oh, okay. So when he came home, I told him, so what happened? He was like, she said yes. I'm like, okay. So we went to H-E-B, and I gave him money. He was like, what's this for? I go, when you ask somebody to dance, that means you have to pay for it. That's called being a gentleman. He's like, okay, Mom. I go, whatever she wants, you pay for it. He's like, okay. And that's when they became a little couple. But after that, she really helped Xavier in school.
They were in the same grade?
The same class.
Same class, same grade. Was he born in Uvalde?
Yes, he was.
So he was born and raised in Uvalde?
Yes.
Okay, so they grew up together and all the way to...
They grew up in the same neighborhood until we moved out of the trailer park, and then they had moved too. But they didn't know each other then. And then when we actually lived on South Grove, and they lived literally, my daughter-in-law lived in the street behind us, my older daughter-in-law. So Xavier would pass through her backyard to go to his sister-in-law's house, and they didn't know each other then until we moved to, by the cemetery. That's when they knew about each other. And so when they found out they were close so many times, they're like, "Why didn't you tell us?" I'm like, I didn't think about anything that back then.
Yeah.
But, after he got with Annabelle, is when he started paying attention. Really paying attention, and that's how everything started. I know he had classes, that he struggled in, and he tried every day to go to school. But it was May 24th when I found out how much my son how much he did better in school.
Tell me about that day.
That day, late as always for everything. So I get there and they already had started with some of the other classes. And when I get there, they had just called up his room. And they were calling out for AB honor roll. And that's when they called up. Mr. Reyes called Xavier's name for AB honor roll. I wasn't going to go to his award ceremony because he wasn't supposed to get anything that I thought. So I was trying to work that day, and thank God that I didn't miss that day. So I get there, and they called his name, and he turned around, and he looked at me. I looked at him, and we were both looking at me like, I did it. I made AB honor roll because he struggled a lot. He struggled a lot in school.
So he was very excited.
And one of his favorite subjects was math. He loved math. But he had problems with reading. So math was his favorite subject, but to get AB honor roll.
That was a big accomplishment.
That's a big accomplishment for him. And then after that is they did the ceremony, and then we started taking our pictures as we usually do, which I should have brought that picture, but he would have been mad because in that picture he didn't have a haircut. He loved his haircuts. But after that is when I asked him, okay, let's go, and he was like, no, I want to stay. I was like, no, let's go home. You can do whatever you want. You go to Annabelle's. He's like, no, Mom, I want to stay. And I was like, why? He was like, because we're watching a movie. Jace is here, and Uzi's here. And I'm like, oh. I was like, okay. And I just, as a mother, you have feelings. You get those butterfly feelings, or that just something isn't right. Something isn't right. And I had that. For a whole week, I had that, and I could not understand why. And I told my mom, are you okay? And she's like, yes, ma'am, I'm okay. And so I called my brother and sister, are you okay? Yes, we're okay. They were okay. And I was like, man, Mom, I have this ugly feeling, and I don't know why. I don't know why. The last time I had a feeling was when my dad passed. So this day, it's just something was not sitting right. I'm thinking okay, my kids are in school. I know where my husband's at. Why am I feeling this way? So I told Xavier, come on, let's go. And he's like, no, Mom, please, I want to stay. And I was like, okay, last week of school, you want them to create those memories. So I was like, okay, fine. And I talked to Monica, which is Annabelle's mom. I was like, well, what are you going to do? She's like, well, Mija wants to stay. And I was like, well, if y'all go home, y'all go to my house, or we could all go to your house. They're like, no, we want to stay here. We want to stay. So I said, okay, fine. So they ran off to go to their class. And I looked at Monica, and I was like, hey, we forgot to get their certificates. She's like, okay, let's go get him. I'm like, okay. So I went, and I called Xavier, I called him XJ, and I was like, XJ, and I was like, what, Mom? I go, your certificate, baby. I go, so that way it don't get dirty, and I could go ahead and put it up. So I put it in a picture frame. I said, okay, Mom. And he gave it to me, and I told him, give me a kiss. So he gave me a peck. I go, no, I want a kiss. I go, if not, we're not going nowhere. And he was like, Mom. And I was like, give me a kiss. It's just at school, you know, the kids are like, oh, you know, my mom, like, embarrassing. Well, Annabelle's like, you better give your mom a kiss, or I'm not going to your house later. Because we would barbecue and stuff like that. And he was like, okay. So he gave me a kiss. He runs and he runs back to me. I go, what, baby? He was like, here's my fidget spinner. You know, always fidgeted with stuff, which I have he always fidgeted, so he had this cube. He loved that cube. When he would go to the shower, he would put it on the counter. He would sleep with it under his bed. When he was eating, he had it. Like, he always had his fidget cube. He goes, here, Mom, hold it for me. I was like, no. I go, that's your fidget. He was like, hold it for me, and I'll get it back after school. Just hold it for me. I should have known then. I should have known something. No, I get it. And I leave. I give him a kiss and I tell him I love him. I'll see him after school. Well, I leave. And I went to go show my husband his certificate. He was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm so proud of him.
Do you recall around what time this was?
I don't. My timings are...
But was it early in the morning?
It was early. It was like gonna be lunchtime.
Okay.
It was gonna be lunchtime. Because I think they had lunch at 11:30. So, I go to the store, I get him a drink real quick, I take it back to him, and I'm getting home. And as I'm getting home, I open the back door to my van, and my little one goes, Mommy, what is that? I go, it sounds like guns. I go, well, they're probably hunters, baby, it's okay.
Did you live by the school?
No, I did not. I lived by the cemetery. So that far.
So it was pretty far from the school?
For me to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
And, I get to my door and my husband's like, where you at? I go, I just got home. He was like, get inside and lock the door. I go, why? He was like, because there's a bell out. I'm like, again? We had him a lot in Uvalde. That's just, you know, we had a lot of chases and all that. So, you know, just to be safe, he told me that. So I got in my house and my sister calls me. She goes, Mom, how was the ceremony? I go, good. We all got AB honor roll. She's like, oh, wow. That's cool. And she was like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. She was like, Mom, hold on. Let me call you back because somebody's calling. I said, okay. She calls me back not even a second later. She goes, Mom, where's XJ? I go, Mama, he's at school. Why? She's like, go get him. I go, why? She's like, no, there's a shooter at school. Go get him. So I ran to the living room and I told my older son, get your little brother. I'll be back. He was like, Mom, what's going on? I go, something's going on at your brother's school. I need to go get Bubba. He goes, no, get in the car. I'll take you. So I got in his car, and we get close to the school, and I just jump out, and he was just like, Mom, wait for me. I go, no, I gotta go see what's going on. Get your little brother and go take him somewhere. Take care of him. And I got off the car, and I was crossing the street. She was like, did you hear? There was an old lady in the car, and I go, no, Mom, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. She was like, there's a shooter in 111. And that was my exchange class. My heart broke then. And I ran to the funeral home because they didn't let anybody, they were blocking. And my husband called me, where you at? I was like, I'm here at the school. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, this is my son too. I go, I need to be here. And he was like, do you know what's going on? I go, yes. He was like, where are you at? So we found each other. And I told him, is he out or what's going on? He was like, I don't know. And once we turned around, he was like, hold on, I hear yelling. And there were some kids coming and running to the funeral home. So I ran to see if I could see him. And some of them already had run in. And I found one of my son's teammates from baseball, and I told him, Mijo, have you seen XJ? And he just looked at me like in shock, like, and I let him inside because I just wanted him to get inside. And it felt like hours and hours.
What were you seeing when you got up to the school?
A lot of police. A lot of police.
And nobody was giving you any information?
No. And a lot of people, parents, grandparents, there are a lot of people were trying to get in there and get their kids. They weren't scared. But yet these cops were just standing there and we didn't know what was going on.
How long were y'all outside of the school?
We were outside the school until maybe 3. Because then I realized my other son, Jeremiah, was in school still. I was telling him, somebody needs to go get Jeremiah, somebody needs to get Jeremiah.
And for those hours, you still didn't know anything about XJ?
I didn't know anything. But as a mom, you know when something's wrong. As I'm standing there, like we're looking, they bring out a kid, and we saw where they were pressing on him. And pressing on him. And I told my husband, check. And as we were running closer, a bus got there. A bus got there to cover. They were trying, I guess, the survivors, I don't know. It was just so much going on. And I told Abel, something's wrong. Something's wrong. He goes, don't say that. Why do you always say it? I was like, there's that feeling in my stomach. It's like, it's ugly, and I don't like it. I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong. And it was 2-something. And I just fell. I fell to my knees. And my husband was like, what's wrong with him? I was like, he's not here anymore. He was like, don't say that, you don't even know. And I was like, I know, my son's not here anymore. My ex-she's gone. In the moment, he was just like, no, like, let's go, because they started saying that they were taking survivors to the Civic Center. So then, we get to the Civic Center, and we're waiting forever. And they told us they're bringing the survivors. So we went outside, and we're waiting and waiting. And some buses came, and people getting their kids. And I just looked at my husband, and I was like, I don't see XJ's class here. So the last bus came, and we said, where's Mr. Race's class? He's not here. They're like, that was all the kids. And at that moment, we knew, where are they at? We started thinking, where are they at? So then they didn't give us any answers then either on where the rest of the kids were. They knew, but they didn't tell us.
Until when did you find out that your son was gone?
At the civics, we were there at the civic center, the conference room. So we ran back inside, and they said, we have some kids that we don't know who they are. And we kept asking, are they okay? Oh, we don't know that right now, but we need to find out who they belong to. So we need to do a DNA swab, a mouth swab. So we did the mouth swabs, and I told them everything. I showed them Xavier's picture that this is my son. At that moment, I told my husband, let's go to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital, let's go see. Xavier has to be there. And we get there, and we're looking. My brother was there all looking for him. Nothing, couldn't find him. And I was upstairs, and I know the spot exactly. And I hate going there when I go to the hospital. It's the second floor where I was by the cafeteria. And my cousin Laura, she calls me, she calls me Tia. She's like, Tia. And I was like, well, baby. She's like, have you found him? I was like, no. She's like, somebody just messaged me on Messenger that they have a kid in Hondo. Call Hondo and find out if that's XJ. I said, okay. So I called them. They couldn't give me any answers. They said, call the police department. So I called the police department there. Oh, you need to call Uvalde. And I was like, look, I don't want to call anybody. I just want to know where my son's at. So the nurse that was standing next to me, she's like, let me call. Because I'm a nurse, hospital, they should be able to give me answers. And I said, okay. She said, this is so-and-so from Uvalde Memorial Hospital. Do you have a young male there? She goes, we do. Okay, but he's not alive. And I just looked at her. She's like, can you describe him? And I told her, I was like, he's wearing a black shirt, blue jeans, and ma'am, tell her that the child that's here is not clothed. So my baby didn't have no clothes on. He just had his shoes. So I said, okay, Felicia. I was like, he has a bald spot on his head. And that was all it took. Is for her to hear that small bald spot on his head. And I heard her crying. I heard her tell the nurse, tell her, I'm sorry. And I drew to my knees and I lost it. Since that day, I've never been the same. I miss my son so much. Life is so hard without him.
Did they make you go and identify him? Or did they do it by the DNA swab that you had taken? The
swab, but because of that mark on his head, that's how I identified him. But it was over phone.
What happened after you found out it was him?
I lost it. And I called my mom. And honestly, those days after, it's like such a blur because I don't remember. I just remember, just told me like a year ago that the day after, I was asleep in his room, and they told me that they were trying to wake me up to get everything situated. And I woke up and I was like, Mom, I have to go get Xavier. I have to go get XJ. And then they had to remind me that he wasn't here, and I lost it again.
How long did it take them to give y'all his body?
I think it was maybe a week. think so. Honestly,
It's a blur.
it is a blur. It's a blur. Losing a child is like the worst thing in the world.
How many wounds did Xavier have? How many shots?
He had 5. But to lose your child that way, it's like the worst. I don't even wish it on my enemy. That is just the worst. It's the worst pain. You don't ever get over. You heal, but like you don't, I don't want to say like you don't heal completely. You heal some.
And it's hard because you have to continue life.
You do, and it's hard.
I can imagine.
It's really hard. Like now, I see my other 2 kids growing up, and it hurts. Because sometimes I feel like they're forgetting him, and I know they don't. But it's like, it's not supposed to be this way. Xavier's supposed to be enjoying his last year in junior high. You know, watching his little brother in 1st grade, like his niece entering pre-K. Like, he's supposed to be here seeing that. He's supposed to be here playing football.
So after a week, did you have a funeral just for him, or was it a funeral with all the other victims?
What they did was somebody made a donation to have all the funerals covered, and it was it was not much of a 3-day or visit or anything. It was just a 1-day viewing, the next day funeral, because there were so many. So I only had 1 day to hold my baby to see him. And I don't even remember the funeral. I do not. I can't even tell you anything about that day because I don't remember it.
You were going through a lot. The whole family was going through a lot.
And thank God for my mom and my family that was there. My cousins, Laura and Stephanie, helping me take care of everything.
What day was Xavier laid to rest?
June 6th.
So after June 6th, did you, I know, I don't want to ask how was life because I know it was a lot, but what happened after the funeral? Did y'all start to look for answers? Did you know who the shooter was?
Oh,
why?
We know who the shooter was. A lot of people. His mom was a waitress, so I knew her. I didn't know, I knew of her, I didn't know her. But she always talked like a baby, always. And I would always tell my mom, why did she talk like that? And my mom would tell me, I don't know how that. I was like, oh. We found out who he was and the lifestyle that he had. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because if somebody would have just loved him and taken care of him, he wouldn't have been that way. But because he didn't grow up loved, he didn't grow up the way he should have, by support and love, evil took over him.
It took the police officers 77 minutes to go in to the classrooms to act.
I see the videos.
What are your feelings on that?
I see the videos a lot. And it angers me so bad. You took an oath to serve and protect, but yet you stood there because you were scared that you weren't going to go home. You stood there because you were scared you weren't going to go home, but yet they're children.
And hearing the shots.
Children screaming for help, crying for their moms, their dads, their siblings. God knows who they were screaming for, but God was like, how could you stand there and hearing them scream? They said that they didn't know it was what's it called? When they hold you hostage. Mm-hmm. They didn't know if it was that, but yet you could hear kids screaming. You can't tell me you didn't know if there was people in there or not when they were screaming.
And the shots.
Like, you can't tell me, like, what do you think he's gonna be standing there shooting just the walls? No, he was shooting in there, and he was shooting at something, and he was shooting at children. Like, how? How are you gonna stand there and just allow that?
How did they explain to y'all that he went into the school?
Oh, he crashed. He crashed his truck into what's it called? A ditch. After he shot his grandma in the face.
And then were the doors left unlocked of the school?
They were unlocked. They can't say that they were locked because I used to be a bus monitor. And this was only a few years before. I used to be a bus monitor, and once I got off and that gate was open, I just walked in to go use the restroom. So they can't say it was locked. The doors were never locked. Never.
They were saying that there was a teacher that had called 911 when he was walking in, with the gun, and nothing was done about it. They didn't act,
No. In the papers, it says that Adrian was cruising that day and saw him. You're one man. You see a man crossing the yard of a school with an AR-15, and you're gonna sit there and just, like, how could you have just sat there and not done nothing? You could have been a hero. You could have been a hero taking down a man before anything happened. But no, you let it happen. You let it happen, and you want to fight for your life to be out here?
Is he currently in jail? Or
I don't know.
Okay.
I only go to the courts. I only go to the courts because seeing them is like, you get fire all inside. It's like your body's on fire. Because you want to just get them and just to their face and say, why? Especially him. Why? Why did you just sit in your car and pass him? Why couldn't you have just taken him down? With that gun, you could have just stopped and shot him. Why did you let him go this far?
And y'all don't get any answers?
We don't get no answers. It's the same thing they tell us all the time. They just reword it every time. I don't know if we'll ever have answers.
And that is what hurts. I don't think you will ever find closure as a mother, because part of you is missing. But I think as a mother also it's important to have somebody accountable for what happened. I mean, it was 21 lives that were taken.
Yes, 21 lives. 21 plus 1. And now Layla, her grandma just recently passed away. There's so many loved ones that miss them so much that can't move on. They're just stuck in that grief. There's 21 lives, 21 precious lives. My Xavier was life. He was everything in our family, our glue. Like, we were active because of him. We always, he would play his game with his brother. Or another thing that we did was we played kickball and baseball with our family. He would decide on what he wanted to do, and he would Mom, let's go play kickball. I'm like, no, let's go play kickball. I'm like, okay, go tell your brother. Next, we're calling all the cousins. My sister-in-laws, my brother-in-laws. We're gonna go play kickball if y'all want to go. And that's what we did.
Do you think there is a gun problem?
There is. Oh, God, there is.
What do you say? You hear a lot of people saying, well, guns are not the problem, it's the people. But you being a parent of a victim, what are your thoughts on that?
There is a big gun problem. And yes, it's not the guns, it's the people. But it is the guns.
You think if there were more restrictions for buying guns?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Do you think a lot?
But now people just get them off the streets. People buy them and then they go and sell them. Like, it's sad. And then you hear on the news so much. There was just one that I just recently saw where it was a young kid who accidentally killed his brother because they were playing with a gun. That mom's losing 2 kids because of those guns. If you're going to have a gun, it should be in a safe spot. And what's your use for a gun? Mm-hmm. For protection? Put it in a safe place where your kids don't know where it's at. Don't just have it in a drawer or closet. You have to put it up in a safe.
And if it's used for protection, where was everybody trying to protect these 21 victims?
It's sad. Even more now, I don't like them.
How is life after May 2024?
In all honesty, everybody turns to grief in different ways. And I'll admit it because I want others to know, yes, there's different ways of grieving. There's your certain ways. Sometimes some things are shameful. Some things are like, I can't believe I did that. Like, I turned to drugs. I turned to drugs when I lost my son. Because at that time there was a lot of overdosing and all that. And I was like, if I overdose, I'll die. I'll die. And I did almost overdose twice. Until one friend, her name is Deandra, and she's from Fort Worth, and she told me, if you die, where are you going? And I told her, I don't know. She goes, okay, if you commit suicide, where are you going? I go, hell. She goes, if you try to overdose, what is that? Well, killing myself, exactly. And where's Xavier? In heaven. Okay, well, if you kill yourself, you're not going with Xavier. And she goes, and if you kill yourself, who's going to tell your story of Xavier? Who's going to tell them about all the funny things that you did with him? The last Thanksgiving when we were, doing our Thanksgiving, me and Xavier cooked it. Who's going to tell that story? And in that moment is when I said, God, I can't do this no more. I want to be with Xavier so much. So much I want to just hold my son again. But then again, who's going to take care of his little brothers? Who's going to tell his little brothers about him? Remind them of who XJ is. Dad has his own stories and I have my own. So then is when I said, God help me. I want to be with Xavier, but I need to live to, tell his brothers and tell Xavier's story. So I've hit a year clean. Grieving is hard. Everybody finds their own ways. But one thing I can say is I got clean. And now I'm here talking about Xavier. Because then I just shut down. I shut down. I didn't want to do nothing. I slept all day. Days I wouldn't shower. I wouldn't eat. I didn't want to leave my house. But now I could talk about him. I want to talk about him. I want to talk more about him. You know, Xavier's, oh my God, Xavier's life is just, my baby was passion. He was passion. He was love. My baby loved, and he loved hard. He could he could just walk into here and make a certain move, and it was just like, oh my God, like he just did that. Like that was Xavier. That's Xavier right there. That little laugh you did, because that's Xavier. He could make friends anywhere.
He was full of life.
He was full of life. And his life is still going on. You know, because his brothers share his story of a memory. His grandma, his mama share a story. You know, my baby, he's not here physically, but he's still here. And that's what I want to share, is that he's still here, but his life, I wish he was here physically.
I'm really sorry for your loss.
I miss his touch. I miss his touch. I miss hearing his "let's go." Every day after school he would come in, or in the morning they would tell me bye. And every day after school, even if I was asleep, he always came in and told me, "Mom, I'm home," and gave me a kiss on the forehead. And that was something Xavier did. And now that my other kids come home, I'm not there because I'm working, but when I get home, I'm like, okay, I'm home. And nobody runs to me. And I was just like, if my ex was here, he would have been the first person outside knowing that my car was already driving up. It's those little things that you miss about your special child. They're all special, but XU was like always there. Like he was always there for you.
Nobody survived in his room?
His teacher, Mr. Reyes.
What are your feelings?
I have a lot of mixed feelings. You know, of course it's, I might be get hated on, and at this point I don't care. I'm not here to be loved by nobody. My God loves me. But everybody was scared. Everybody. Nobody wanted to die. But you're a man. You're a man. And there was no students next to him. But at 112, there was 2 women that was hovering over their children. And they left with them. I don't wish death on anybody. I don't. But what makes you so special to live? And none of those kids were special enough for you to cover. He said he was scared. My son was scared. Why couldn't you have protected them? Why couldn't you protect our kids? What makes you more special? And now you're alive. I'm happy for that. I'm happy you're alive. You have a chance to tell the kids stories. Talk about them. Not talk about yourself. Yes, you're a survivor. But talk about your children that are not here. Talk about how wonderful they were in your class. Talk about those special, funny moments. Don't talk about your life. You're selfish. And that's how I feel. Nowadays, I feel everybody's in for everything, for money. Sweetheart, I will be the brokest person in this world if you could give me back my son. Give me my child back, and you can have everything I have. Everything. Take my car, take my house, take everything if you could give me back my son. But that's just how people are nowadays. It's all about money.
Do you have a connection with any of the other families?
I do. Jayla Seguero, her mom is Veronica Lueminos. We've been best friends since, I was 14, she was 13, 12, when we started being friends. Because we moved into the trailer park, and we've been best friends since then. You know, so Jayla was like my niece. Like we always did stuff together. We would have cookouts together. No, we always hung out. Jace Lueminos, he's my cousin. His mom is my cousin, so he's family. Anne-Marie's dad, Alfred, we grew up together. We all went to school together, basically. A lot of us went to school together. Mm-hmm. So we're classmates.
And your kids were classmates?
And our kids were classmates. So we all have that bond now. It's a bond I wish we never had. But we have that bond. And sometimes we text each other and like, how are you doing today?
And I'm imagining that you sending your kids back to school the next year. I'm sure it was hard for you.
Oh, I didn't send mine. And they were on me about it, but I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bury your son. I don't care. And till this day, like, if I hear somebody's going out of school, I will send my kids. Well, they have a lot of parties, okay. I could care less. You want to find me? Find me. I don't care. You didn't bury a kid. You didn't bury your best friend. You didn't bury your mini-me.
Do you think you have forgiven Salvador?
Forgiveness goes a long way. And you can't heal until you have. There's certain forgiveness that I have. I forgive some. I could say I forgive some because I know they were scared. Everybody's human. You froze. I'm stuck on that one. Because it's like, I know you were scared, and some have came up to us, and you could tell in their eyes that they are very sorry. So, yes, I do. I have forgiven some. Because they actually had the guts to come to us and say, sorry, with tears in their eyes, sorry. Those are the ones that I forgive. And I'm not going to name their names. Mm-hmm. But there's some that still to this day, they look at us and they just turn away. And sometimes I want to just get in their face and say, stare at me. Stare at my face.
What is the message that you have for them?
How do you sleep at night? That's my question. How do they sleep at night? How do they look at their children? How do they look at their children knowing that they didn't save children. They let children get murdered. That's what I want to know. Is how do they sleep at night? How could you watch your child grow when you took that chance of letting me watch my child grow? That's my questions. How do you sleep at night?
The officers accused are Pedro Arredondo and Adrian Gonzalez. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there should be more people held accountable?
Oh, yes. Definitely. And there's a few of them that are family members. Well, they're married to family. And what sucks is that they're married to family members, and those family members till this day have not even called me to say, I'm sorry he didn't save Xavier. I'm sorry he couldn't have done more. They don't speak a word to me. I don't speak a word to them. We've run into a few at the store and we just keep walking. We look the other way. And that's sad. Because you know how they say blood is thicker than water?
What would justice mean for you? What would you be okay with saying, okay, justice is being served?
Justice will never be served. To me, justice will never be served. You could lock them up. You could put them on probation, take away their pensions, you could do a lot of that, but justice will never be served. I know a lot of people say, I'm going to fight until justice is served. But when is justice going to be served? Because your child or your family will never be back. Xavier will never be back in this chair. So there is no justice will be served. There is no okay, he got what he deserved already for what he did. No, because my son won't be here. So there's no such thing to me on justice being served. Now what I wish I don't know, doing time is a lot. But taking them away from their kids is a lot. I lost my son. Some might think I'm crazy for this, but I wouldn't want to break a child's heart. Yes, I wish they would, take their pension away. Don't let them get their pensions. Don't let them work in another school. Don't let them work in another police department. They should not work in any law enforcement, period. Anything that has to do with saving lives, I don't wish they could have that opportunity anywhere. But to take them away from their children, that child's gonna sleep crying. That child's not gonna eat. That child's not gonna want to do stuff. Why? Because they don't have their dad. I don't have my son. But one thing that my son did have was a big heart. And I thank God every day that he had a big heart. So, for me that's it. Not working in a law enforcement position, not to work in schools, nothing has to do with saving lives. Some jail time, I don't know, but to have them taken away from their children, I can't do that to a child.
Yeah.
I can't.
And Xavier's girlfriend,
Annabelle. My sweet Annabelle.
Annabelle was in the same classroom as him.
Yes. Yes. I'm pretty sure I did have permission from her mom to say that when they did the autopsy for Mija, they found Mijo's handprint from where he was holding her so tight. feel. My son was such a gentleman and very respectful to females. I feel like he knew something was going to happen, so he chose to stay because he had to protect her. My son was, I wish he would have knew Xavier, because he was a light to everything. But I think he had a feeling of something, like, I don't know how to explain it, but he was there to protect her. Because if he would have gone home and she didn't, and my Xavier wouldn't be able to live with her being gone and him being here.
How do you want Xavier to be remembered?
By love. He had a big heart, big heart. He just loved. He loved hard. And one thing about Xavier is, there's a song, a Christian song, that says, what the devil meant for evil, he turned it for good. So yes, evil was done, but God turned it for good, because now, not that God took my son, because at first I blamed God, but then I had to realize God did not take my son. He took him instantly so he wouldn't feel the pain, but he did not allow that to happen. So, with my son's story, I get to share about his love. I get to not, like, some of the stories, they don't get told about their children. They don't get to talk about their children. Mm-hmm. They don't get to talk about how they were. I do. I get to talk about how big Xavier's heart was. Xavier's heart was so big. He loved, and he loved hard. He could make you laugh. Like, there's so many things, and there's one story I could share is one time we would take family rides, and Xavier left his river shoes outside. So he just grabbed them. He didn't put them on at home. So he grabbed them, and when he got in the van, you just hear him scream. I was like, actually, what happened? He was like, there's a baby frog. There's a baby frog in the van. And I'm like, where? I don't like anything that, like, I don't like it. So I'm screaming in the front seat. And I was like, where is he? He's like, Mom, it's by you. Don't move. I'm like, I'm not going to see you. Where do you want me to move to? Like, I can't move. He was like, just don't move. Well, everybody had their feet up. My husband's laughing. He's trying to pull over. Xavier's like, Mom, it's right there. It's right there. And I'm like, so we get it, and my husband opens the door where it's hopping everywhere, and Xavier has his feet up. He has his brother pulled up, and he was like, so my husband pulled it out, and Xavier was just holding his brother. I'm like, why are you holding Jeremiah? He was like, so that way the frog wouldn't come up and get him. But he was scared. He didn't want to put his feet down. I was like, Jeremiah. When then I looked, it was a little baby frog. But that little baby frog made us all jump, and but he was screaming, and I was just like, actually, really, like, all that for that. He was like, did you want it to touch you? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, see, that's why I was warning you. But, it's just little things.
He was a protector.
He was a protector, very much a protector. Mm-hmm. His dad would cook out, and Xavier would be outside with them. He even started helping him from his brother's his 18th birthday, which was the last year that he was alive. He cooked his birthday. He made his hamburgers for his brother's birthday.
Mm. Did he ever tell you what he wanted to be when he grew up?
Yes. We fought about it all the time. And he always told me, Mom, you know how there's so many kids out there, Mom, that don't have parents, or they're bad in school, like, and they don't have nobody to go to. He's like, I want to be that somebody. So what my son wanted to do is he wanted to join the army. And then after the army, he wanted to join the police academy to become an officer. But he wanted to work with troubled kids to show them, hey, I did it, you could do it too. And that's my son. Like, he is a protector. And he still is. I know he still is. Mm-hmm. But that's what my son wanted to do. He wanted to be an officer, but to work with troubled kids.
He had a big, big heart.
He did. He did have a big, big heart.
Message that you have for the people that make the laws. What laws would you like to be changed to prevent this in the future? Or do you think there should be a change?
I guess there should be a change. How is it that you have to be 21 to purchase alcohol, but, you know, you could be 18 to purchase a gun? You know, I just think the age limit should go up. I don't even think 21 should be the age limit. I think it should be higher than that. Because, think about it, everybody's in a rush to turn 21. Why? So you could purchase beer and cigarettes, and you could buy that stuff. And what's the first thing they do? They get excited. They want to go to a party, you know. So they're drinking and driving wrong side of town. You're wearing the wrong color, you know. So I don't think 21 should even be the age limit. I say 25 should be the age limit. Because by then, you should already be, you know, grown up by then. But that's what I think it is. 25 should be the age limit.
As a parent, all these videos that they just got released to the media, and you see the officers going into the classroom and there's a significant amount of blood on the floor. As a parent, do you think those videos should be put out in public?
No. And the one thing about Uvalde is there is no Uvalde Strong. So I want to make that clear. There is no Uvalde Strong. But those videos being released, first of all, every time we fight for anything that's being released, we ask to see it first. And we're like the last people to, you know, the world gets it before we do. So we don't have that time to warn our family, hey, Mom, this is out. I already saw everything. I've seen it. Don't watch it. It shouldn't be that way. I should be warning people. But no, I don't think everything being released, I don't even think it should, like, to me, I believe it should not be released to the public. Why does the world have to see my son's blood? I barely want to see it, but why should the world be allowed to see it? Mm-hmm. Like, it's sad, it's very disappointing, and it's like, they shouldn't be seeing that. That's my son's privacy. Like, that's all I have left of my son. And for the world to see it, and that's just how I feel about that.
Is there a message that you have for the other moms going through this? For other grieving moms?
For other grieving moms. I have my 2 other children that still need me. So if you still have children, don't give up. Don't give up, because they still need you. And the child that you lost, they still need you. Who's going to talk about them? Only you can. Like, talk about how awesome they were. Talk about the little times that they made you laugh. Or that one time, like, XJ, it sounds weird, is what I miss the most are his stinky socks. And the people are like, what? it's little things that moms are like, oh, I have to wash his socks again, and all this. I told him not to stain the shirt. But when you no longer have that, you miss that. So, for those other grieving moms, they still need you. Even though they're not here, they still need you. And there's strength. And I have the strength that I have. Don't get me wrong. I have my times where I cry, God, why am I going through this? Or but the only reason why I'm able to work and able to wake up and say, okay, God, another day, is God. God heals your heart. You still feel that pain because you miss them, but God could heal your heart. Believe in God to help you get to where you need to get to share your story. So when you reached out to me, the first thing I did was I prayed on it. I prayed, God, don't let it be another one of those ones that, because I've had people do me wrong. So I prayed, God, please don't let her. So I looked your name up. So okay. But to tell my son's story is, I'm very thankful for that. Thank you for thinking of my son and wanting to hear his story. And I popcorn a lot. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I could start here and then I start here and hold it, but telling my son's story. Thank you. Those parents, they need to keep telling their kids' stories, their lives.
And I appreciate you taking the time. There's no words that I can say that is going to bring your son back. I admire your strength. I admire you sitting down in this chair and talking about Xavier. It takes a lot of strength for that.
Oh, it does.
And I thank you for that. And I hope and pray that you find comfort and keep fighting for things to change. Because I do believe we do need a change.
We do.
This can be prevented in the future. And, I hope that after this podcast, XJ's life, dancing, smile, can keep living.
Yes.
Through you, thank you for sharing his story. Where he's at. He's very proud of you.
Oh, yes.
And I thank you very much.
On May 24th, what I do is every year I ask somebody to do a little dance video and send them to me.
Okay.
That's how I keep my son's name alive.
Okay.
And something that he loved, because he loved dancing.
Yes.
Yes, we could be in a grocery store and we hear something, we're just like, we're just moving.
Yeah.
The flea market, My son was never ashamed to dance anywhere. Mm-hmm. And he even gets at us weddings. He would dance by himself. He didn't care. That's just how my son was. But thank you for letting me tell your story.
And I thank you. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome to part 2 of More Than Just a Story podcast. We will continue the story of Xavier with his grandma, Amelia Sandoval. Thank you for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, on your eyes, how do you remember Xavier?
Xavier, Mijo was very loving, very antsy is what I call it. Every time I go over, he's always playing tricks on me, pranks, and he was always making me laugh or mad, one of the two, and he would just stand in the corner and he would just like just his little smirk. So I'm gonna get you, XJ. Háblale tu mamá. Go call your mom. But he's always, and he was the first one that when we would have family gatherings, he was always the first one. If the music was on, and most of the time, being brought up, Hispanic, there's always music around and always wanting to dance. And he was one I never had to say, come and dance with grandma, you better dance with grandma. He was right there with me dancing, always. And, you know, there were times where he would just dance with me, and he would like try to make me vueltas because he used to love for me. Well, I love vueltas, you know what I mean? He turned me around, and so of course he was shorter, so he would jump up just to make sure he gave me a vuelta, you know. But I loved him. And I still love him. He was always, you know, making me laugh and always helping out. He always helped out. I mean, I recall times where, you know, he would go over to my house and he'd be out there helping, and he would, before he would even start, he would tell Grandpa, "You're going to pay me?" He always collected. And my husband would tell him, "I'll pay you afterwards." He goes, "You better." And he always did. And sometimes he would, like I said, I mean, he was always protecting his brothers. Sometimes his little brother, Justin, wasn't able to go because he was still very young. And so even though we would go to the store and he goes, buy them what they want, because he helped, you know, with the yard work or help me water the plants. And he would say, "Grandpa, can I take something for Justin too?" And he goes, "Yes, buy something for Justin." So my husband was always making sure that, you know, everybody got something, even though it was only XJ that helped.
That helped out, yeah.
The other ones would get distracted and Jeremiah would be too busy playing. But he was always helping.
How do you remember the day of May 24th of 2022?
Well, that day, my husband had a doctor's appointment in San Antonio, and prior to May 24th, it's like my daughter said, you just get that feeling. And I remember for a while there being depressed, and I kept telling my husband, "I feel like something's gonna happen." He goes, "What's wrong?" And I go, "I don't know." And it's just something that the family knows, you know, like my daughter said, we always check up on each other. Is your dad okay? Your brother, your sisters, and everything. We would just check. But I could feel like I was feeling down. And so I remembered as we were driving, I asked my husband, will you buy me a spiral? I need, you know, so I could write things down. And I thought it was me, you know. You know, one always fears death, but not, you know, not death in a way that, you know, well, I'm going to die, but I'm leaving my children behind. And so anyway, he bought me breakfast and everything. We were headed to San Antonio. And the feeling went away. And then as we were driving in the middle of traffic, whatever, I believe it was my daughter-in-law called me. And she goes, something's happening or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, it's another bailout. I go, okay, just pray. Go tell your sister to pick up XJ, and you call me when everything's... My husband was going to have like a weight loss surgery, so we had 371 questions to answer. So we're in the middle of this, and I'm reading the questions to my husband, and I remember stepping out. I called my pastor, and I told her, "Pastor, something's going on in Uvalde, and can you please pray?" And so I started praying. I didn't have the worry that I had earlier, but then something is just turn to God, just pray and pray. And as I went back in and started reading the questions to my husband so we could get over it, I felt the uneasiness, like, just like, you know, I just sighed, and I'm like, I looked at my husband, and then I just like, we need to go. I can't do this anymore. And the nurse says, I don't see how you're keeping it together. And inside of me, if anybody would have heard my thoughts, is that this is not where I need to be right now. I need to be in Uvalde. And so I told my husband, I go, what do we do now? Do you want to go? Well, of course. And I go, if this was any of our other grandchildren, oh, what would you want to do? And so we started heading back. And as we're headed back to Uvalde, I'm getting phone calls from reporters, and I'm like, how did you get my number? You know, and well, do you know this? Has Xavier been identified? And I'm like, what? And
at this moment, you didn't know there was a shooting.
I didn't know.
Shooter.
It's not until after my daughter and I was communicating between more my daughter Jasmine and my daughter-in-law Tamara. I was communicating more with them, and they were telling me, Mom, you need to be here. And I go, Mija, I'm trying to go back as fast as we can. We're driving, and we were literally driving as fast as you can. And if you've ever been in San Antonio, the traffic is so congested, and we were doing it, and we're headed, and we were already getting into the, like, I think it was between Kinip and Uvalde, when my daughter goes, turn around. They said they have somebody in Hondo. So when we turned around, we only made it to Dehanes, which is before Hondo. We had barely made it when my son-in-law called me. And this was, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, this was like about between 4 and 5 o'clock. And when my son-in-law tells me, XJ's gone, I lost it. And I just started screaming. And my husband, we were pulled over at the convenience store, and my husband just turns and he looks at me and he goes, and I told him, and I'm like, can't believe it. And as soon as, we were there and we started headed back to Uvalde, reporters, like I said, left and right were calling, and I'm like, I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk anything. And I remember as we're getting to the hospital, my daughter calls me to go pick up Jeremiah, and Jeremiah was still at school because they had locked down the other school. By the time we get to go pick up Jeremiah, it's 6:30 at night. And we picked him up, we head towards the hospital, and my son-in-law was outside with his family, and I'm like, where's my princess, is what I call my daughter. Where's Princess? And as soon as I saw her, I'm like, here, as a grandparent, you try not to fall apart because your children are going to need your help. My son-in-law is like my son, and my daughter, and they're going to need my help. I'm trying to compose myself and be strong. In the meantime, I'm like dying inside. And I just looked at my daughter, and I just like, I can't believe it. Inside of me is like, with everything that was happening, because first it was a bailout, and first it was like, no, go to the Civic Center, and all this time that they were communicating with me, I was just like praying so hard that somebody would just tell me it's a lie, that Mijo was okay. It's not until afterwards, like I said, being a grandparent and losing a grandson, it's like I would tell my daughter at the time, I don't know what it is to lose a child. I've never lost a child. But you've never lost a grandchild. And it's a different mourning. Because you mourn for the grandson that you lost. And you mourn for the daughter that you once knew. My daughter changed a lot. My son-in-law changed a lot. where there was once joy and happiness, and the upbeat is just silence. And I was watching my daughter as we're taking her from the hospital and finally getting her enough to get her strength to take her home, and getting to the house and hearing her wail like for the loss of her son, him not coming home, and her having to walk in the doors knowing that XJ wasn't coming home. Just the pain was so raw. All the days, it's like I was trying to do everything so she wouldn't have to worry about it, like running back and forth to the Fairplex, because they were like giving my daughter instructions how to, the people that were donating, like for gas, they were giving them like for food, so that, they knew none of these parents were going to be able to cook. None of them wanted even to eat, but they had other children that still had to eat. So I had to run back and forth, and my husband would say, let's go. And part of the FBI that did the, what do you call it? When you lose a family member to violence, to gun violence or stuff like that, they offer certain things. And I remember them saying, we have an RV you can stay in. And the people were coming and going. I was trying to protect my daughter from reporters, trying to keep people away, and at the same time, people coming over, paying their respects, and I would see my daughter, and it's like, like she will get up and she's like, oh Mom, you're here, did you just get off work? Oh, okay, we need to go get XJ and whatever. And I just, like I said, would break down inside, and my husband would just look, and I would just like, you handle it. My husband would just like try to, and she's like, Dad, what are you doing here? And just for her to snap out of it and realize it did happen. It was not just a bad dream. And then, to hear her cry out for him was the hardest thing. But like you said, I mourned my grandson, and I mourned my daughter of who she used to be. The different emotions that come with grieving, the anger, whatever. As a mother, seeing her self-medicate is what I call it, when she turned to drugs, I would keep praying and praying, pleading, God help me, because I don't know how to help her. I don't, as a parent, you always protect your children by praying for them, by providing for them and whatever. But this is one thing I couldn't help my daughter in. It was just so hard to see her and not be able to say, what could I say? Nothing was gonna bring me home back. At the same time, hearing everything that happened, anger sets in, as the weeks followed, and then knowing there was, like I said, 77 minutes, and you're wondering, what were they waiting for? Well, you seeing the videos when the videos first got released, that they were waiting for bulletproof shields, when the children didn't have nothing to protect themselves. They were screaming. They weren't doing anything. A cop sanitizing his hands. I'm like, seriously? That's why I say it's like so much anger went through me, through my husband, and we would just look at each other, and it's like you're here watching and you're getting mad. And it's just so surreal that they didn't do anything to go in. If they had just attempted, they applied for the job. Nobody forced them. They say, well, we didn't know that we called out for the kids, and the kids, well, no, we teach our kids, listen to your teachers, listen to the officers. You whatever you get told to do, because they have fire drills, they have, little things that we teach the children, right? I say we, but we tell them, listen to the instruction of the teachers. Tell them to stay quiet. And it's like, they did what they were trained to do. Why didn't the police do what they were trained to do? It's just, like I said, it's so surreal that a lot of them, finding out that when the cameras on their vest or whatever got released, it's like, it just pisses you off. It pisses you off that, like, here you're stopping parents from trying to run in, and maybe they weren't the shooter. Maybe, like everybody says, well, why are you getting mad at the police officers? They were not the one that caused the thing. No, they didn't cause it. It was the shooter himself. But
it was
failure to render aid is what I think about. You failed to get them the help that they needed by stopping by not stopping the shooter right away. 2 is, once they shot the shooter, why didn't they have the ambulance, the life air, the helicopters ready to go? There was a big, where the shooter had gone through the ditch and gone through, there was a big, property that the helicopter, maybe even 2 helicopters, could have landed and taken those kids. I mean, and then I heard later that when they were, I heard it from the Border Patrol that had gone in there, and their kids on top of children on top of other children. The Border Patrol says they have pulse. They have a pulse. So he started running across outside to the ambulance, and he was just there like, okay, why aren't they here? Well, they were stopping the EMTs from getting into the thing. That's another missed opportunity. That's another failure to render aid. You're failing to let that EMT get these children to the hospital on time. Now, like I said, the helicopters, where they were, I don't know. I just know that by the time they put me, XJ, to take off in the ambulance, he takes off, and like, if I'm incorrect, well, but what I heard is that as soon as XJ took off in the ambulance, a helicopter gets there. And then he makes it. They were gonna go to Sabinal, and then they were gonna put him in another helicopter, and the helicopter had just taken off to Uvalde. That's another missed opportunity. By the time he gets to Hondo, they were working on him, and that's where he finally gave his last breath. I guess it was all those, not only the 77 minutes, but the 77 minutes then afterwards to try and get him aid. That's what I think about. Now, it upsets me because I keep thinking about all those missed opportunities. How my grandson would be right now had he lived. How my daughter would be had he lived. Because you met Felicia, but it's not the Felicia that I knew before May 24th. She's changed a lot. There for a minute, it was at the worst time when she was turning, and I would pray with her and I would tell her, you know, you have to, other children, you need to make sure that who's going to take care of them, because no one can take care of your boys like you do. And this is from me being a mother to you being a mother. Nobody will ever love and care for your kids like their own mother.
For you, it was like you lost your grandson, but you were also losing your daughter that was still alive.
And that eats at a parent. That eats at a parent. And I'm sure there's a lot of grandparents out there that saw the changes. Some still holding on to hope that they will get to a place where they would allow God to bring healing. They say time heals all wounds. I recently lost my husband, and I can tell you it doesn't heal the wound. You get reminded of your loss every day. And for a long time, my husband kept telling me, let him rest, let him rest. And I would tell him, baby, he's in heaven. He is resting. He is resting. My daughter's not resting. She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't eating. And just calling her, before, me and my daughter have always been close. My children always have been close. We always take up on each other all the time. But when I would call her, she would avoid my phone calls. And she had never done that before. And I would call her and I would go over there constantly. Mija, it's gonna be okay. But I didn't have the words to tell her. I would just pray, God, give me the words to give her, just so she can survive one more hour without history. Then 2 more hours, then 3 more hours. It was hard. It was hard seeing her go through that. Seeing my son-in-law. My son-in-law does not talk. And sometimes he'll tell me, find somebody. It doesn't matter. He goes, no. He goes, I can't. I just can't. I go, it doesn't have to be somebody you know. Sometimes talking to somebody you don't know is better. Because, and I would tell him, nobody's gonna judge you. But he goes, but they will. And I would tell him, talk to me. Talk to me. Anytime you want to talk to me about it. Tell me about a memory. You know what I mean? I ask my daughter from time to time, does he talk? He's not ready, Mom. He's not ready. So I'm not letting go. I'm still praying for him. It's an everyday process, praying. I won't give up on him. I won't give up. It's missing them, missing XJ, and learning how to live without his physical presence, and accepting it. But knowing that you have to be his voice to make sure, like my daughter says, his story gets told. I'm sure the other grandparents are the same way. I mean, there are some grandparents that I talk to now here and then, because where I work at, they go into the store and they're like, "How are you doing today?" And I'm like, "Ay, echándole ganas, you know. You have to live hour by hour." And then one day turns to 2 days. You know what I mean? And here we are, 3 years, and almost 2 months later.
What do you remember of XJ's funeral? How did you see his funeral through your eyes?
It was hard. And yet, I remember his casket. It was so hard. I've never been I'm not a funeral person. I hate attending funerals. And I'm that type kid. I don't like going up to the casket. But I remember the day before we had my daughter had taken him the clothes, and they wanted her to make sure that, hey, this present, you know, how you want him presented or whatever, right? And she goes, "Mom, we're gonna have like a small mini viewing for us." She goes, "I want you to be there." And it was hard. It was hard to go up and see his beautiful little body there, so handsome. I just wanted to wake him up and take him home. But seeing my daughter, you know, she doesn't remember any of it. And she asked me, and I tell her this and that. And then I was grateful her cousins were there to help her out. And I would just, like, wherever I could help, you know. I mean, I didn't know exactly what to do, what to say.
Did anybody from the school go to the funeral that you remember of?
There was a lot of people. I mean, I had a lot of my best friends show up, and I didn't even know. That's how busy. I mean, I was making sure my daughter was okay. I wanted to make sure she was okay, my son-in-law was okay, and my grandson, which is the oldest of them, he was okay. I wanted everything to be perfect for him. You know, I didn't get to, I mean, a lot of people came up and offered their condolences, and my daughter, I can tell you, she wasn't there, you know what I mean? Physically she was, but I could tell. And it's like, I sat behind her, and I would just hold on to her shoulder. You know, the words that my pastors said at the cemetery were beautiful. And just trying to remember XJ. And it's like the pastor's wife, Miss Pacheco, told me, think about all the memories God gave you. Focus and celebrate his 10 years of life. And you'll get through this. And, you know, you need to be there for Felicia. And the only way you can be there for Felicia is by continuing to pray for her.
Have you forgiven Salvador?
I really don't think on it. Even I can tell you that from day one, I don't think about him. What he did was evil. But I can't say I had any resentment towards him as much as any resentment whatsoever, you know what I mean? And it's kind of weird to say that because my main focus was on my daughter and her family. And after the ordeal, like I said, hearing about this, I think I held more unforgiveness towards the police, like, you know, living in Uvalde, a lot of the officers, you know them, you know, maybe not hung around with them, but you know of them, you know, they were regular customers. Some of them lived down a few houses down my brother's house, so you knew them, you know what I mean? A lot of them I had very much respect for until that day. And I remember, I won't mention his name, but he knows who he is if he sees this or hears about this. I remember him walking into where I work, and as he's paying for things, I called my coworker and I told her, you need to come to the register. She goes, why? I go, you just need to come to the register. And when she gets there, she looks at me to tell me what. I go, I can't. How can he stand here with his grandson knowing he didn't do his job and I don't get to have mine? That's not fair. And I'm sure he heard me because I said it pretty loud. And I walked towards the back. He walks in now y no me da la cara. You know, his family members, I know that I've been around them at certain functions and stuff like that, and I've had to tell my daughter, you don't want to come, so-and-so's here. And they look at me like with a mug face and whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, how dare you look at me ugly when, and I know you're trying to protect your dad, but it's because your dad failed to do his job is why we're in the predicament that we're in. Like I said, maybe he not have been the shooter, but I blame more, like I said, the officers that were there and didn't do it. My daughter says, we have family members that are married by marriage. I don't talk to them. They don't talk to me. I try to avoid them, not because I'm afraid of them, because I'm afraid that I'll snap and say something. And that's not what God wants me to do. I think in that, it's been a little bit harder to forgive. Knowing that the little cousins, knowing the children, not just my grandson, but knowing that there were children in there and you stood there and not do your job. Were you afraid to go home, being shot and not be able to go home? Yeah, I understand that, but you signed up for that job. I didn't force you into that position. You chose that as a career path. That's why it's hard. And may God give me the strength one day to completely release it, because I still haven't. And it's hard when you see people in Uvalde talk about these families. My daughter and the other parents didn't ask to be part of this group. They got put there because people failed them. Would some of them have passed away? Maybe. But how many would have survived? That's what I look.
They would have acted.
they would have just acted. How many? Because like I said, three or four different opportunities that my grandson could have had some type of aid. Had they gone in, they wouldn't have bled out. Because I really honestly think that most of them bled out. When you hear the recordings of the children calling 911, and when they're saying that her little friend is deceased already, that breaks me. It breaks anybody who has a heart to see these children, the survivors, you know what I mean, that they have to deal with. It's hard.
How do you remember XJ?
At my house, because I live like 45 miles away from Uvalde, I built a little memorial in the front yard. My husband and I used to sometimes get home from work, and we would be talking about XJ, and he would say, remember when XJ did this or did that or whatever. And so I told my husband, you know what, I'm gonna build a memorial. So I did. I built a memorial, put the little toys that he left behind at my house. I have them all there. I had put a big banner of XJ, his picture up there, and I have the picture of the 21 angels right there on the fence, and lots of solar lights. I have lots of solar lights to make sure it's lit up, and now I sit out there sometimes by myself, and I tell XJ, hope you're taking care of Grandpa, and Grandpa's taking care of you. I miss both of them so much. But I know that XJ's not alone. I remember when the day before this happened was a Monday night, and my daughter lived on the going towards out of town, and I will always call them curbside. And so sometimes, I will honk, and next day we'll go outside with a sandwich or something I could eat on the way home. And I remember that Monday, say I'm coming in, and I got off. At first, he gave me a hard time because I went and knocked on the door, and he opened the door. Can I help you? Can I help you? And I'm like, XJ, open the door. XJ, open the door. XJ, open the door. And I finally had to call my daughter and tell her, XJ, no, and here comes my daughter down the hallway. XJ, you better open the door. Mom, G-Mom, it was unlocked. All you had to do was open it. And I remember seeing that the thing, and I don't remember what I ate, but I remember saying, I want a tortilla with butter. And so XJ's watching me put butter, and then he said, Mom, look at how much butter Grandma's putting in your tortilla. And I go, being a snitch. And so he comes, I remember, and I'm sitting there at the round table, and his dad asked him, what do you want? And he goes, I want a tortilla with butter like my G-Mom. And I remember talking to Felicia and telling her about my day and whatever, and I go, no, I better get, because Dad's waiting for me. And as I'm leaving, all I remember is arms hugging me. He's hugging me, and he goes, I love you. And I turned around and I looked at him, and I love you too. And then I go, I'll see you tomorrow. He goes, yes. I go, okay. And because he had asked me a week before, can I go sleep at your house? And I go, I'm home tired, and I don't get up early and have to work in the morning. So I remember me telling him, you'll get to go visit Brackett. And that was my last hug from XJ. And my last I love you was that Monday night. Because Tuesday I didn't get to talk to him when all that happened. That's all I remember. I remember his I love yous and him kissing me. The memories of him, they don't fade as long as we keep talking about them. That's one thing I've learned. Sometimes, like my daughter says, it's hard. I miss him. I still cry. But like I said, he has his grandpas now, taking care of him in heaven, celebrating up there. Have the best seats watching over us. I remember this recent 4th of July, my children went to go see the fireworks in Brackett. And I told them, because this is the first without my husband, right? And so we're sitting there at the thing, and I'm looking at the fireworks, and my daughter reminds me, they have the best seats up there, Mom. They're looking down on us. They're watching the fireworks. Look, they're showing us the fireworks. So those are my memories of him. I'll forever love them. Forever talk about them.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk about XJ.
Thank you.
Just like I told your daughter, there's no words that I can tell you to bring your grandbaby back. But I admire your resilience, your strength also for grieving the loss of your grandbaby, and also, having to be a mom to your grieving daughter also. That takes a lot of strength. So I do admire you for that. So I thank you, and I share this podcast to keep XJ alive and his memories, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.